You've probably noticed that as you sit here meditating, thinking about the breath, evaluating the breath, you're talking to yourself, reminding yourself now, stay here, and commenting on how the breath is and trying to think up ways that the breath could be better, where to focus, what you find interesting, what you find useful. It's actually an important part of the meditation. It's called verbal fabrication, the way the mind chatters to itself. And what you're trying to do is learn how to make this chattering, which is often a problem, actually part of the path. An element of your concentration that helps the mind to settle down with a sense of interest, with a sense of comfort, with a sense of well-being. Then as the well-being gets more and more firmly established, the mind gets more centered, then you can drop a lot of the chatter because it's served a real purpose. Now, one of the ways you learn how to be skillful in your internal chatter is to be skillful in your external chatter. This is why right speech is an important part of the path. The way we talk to ourselves has a lot to do with the way we've heard other people talk and the way we've been talking to others. And so if most of the records are, I guess now they're MP3 files playing in our minds, or of unskillful speech, you're going to find yourself engaging in unskillful speech in your meditation as well. People are exposed to a lot of negativity and find themselves dealing in that negativity as they meditate. So you've got to learn new habits. And you don't learn new habits simply by stopping and not talking at all. You learn new habits by actually engaging in other people with right speech. So it's good to think about how the Buddha defined right speech. 4 types of speech that you want to avoid: lying, harsh speech, divisive speech, and idle chatter. And each of these is defined by the intention behind it. Lying is the intention to deceive, to misrepresent the truth. Harsh speech is what you say with the intent of hurting somebody's feelings. Divisive speech is breaking up friendships. And idle chatter is basically speech without any real clear intention at all, just chattering away for the sake of having something to say. And so you want to learn how to avoid these forms of speech, and also learn some of the nuances of right speech. Because in some cases it's not very clear-cut. Now with lying it is clear-cut. You don't want to misrepresent the truth to anybody, ever. That's why it's one of the precepts, i.e. a rule that you lay down for yourself and then you try to hold to in all situations. Now this, of course, is going to be a test of your ingenuity and your discernment, because there will be times when people will ask questions, and you know that answering the question is going to give rise to problems. The Buddha himself said that he would not tell the truth in areas where it would give rise to greed, anger, and delusion. And that doesn't mean he would lie. It means simply that he would avoid those topics. So you've got to figure out skillful ways of avoiding. Someone comes up and says, "Have you seen my husband with another woman?" And you have. You've got to figure out a way to change the topic. turn the question on the woman. He says, why? Do you suspect anything of your husband? So you can avoid answering the question. But that's a special case. But still, even in the special cases, you cannot misrepresent the truth, which is why that's a precept, as opposed to the other forms of wrong and right speech. Because there are times, for instance, when harsh speech is necessary. The Buddha gives an analogy. It's like having a child, a young baby who still doesn't know what to eat and what not to eat, and she's put a sharp piece of glass in her mouth. You've got to do everything you can to get the glass out, even if it means drawing blood, because if the baby swallows the glass, it's even worse. In the Buddha's case, he said harsh things about Devadatta, to Devadatta's face. One, in the hopes that Devadatta might come to his senses, and two, to warn all the other monks around him that Devadatta had really gone off course. And someone once called him on this. Said, would the Buddha ever say anything harsh to anyone? Well, the idea being that if the Buddha said no, then he said, well, what about what you said to Devadatta? That was harsh. It hurt Devadatta's feelings. And if the Buddha said yes, he would say harsh things to other people, then they would say, well, what's the difference between you and other people, ordinary people? And so when they put the question to the Buddha, he said that question doesn't deserve a categorical answer. It deserves an analytical answer. He said there are times when, in deciding what to say, he would ask, one, is it true? If it wasn't true, he wouldn't say it. Second one, is it beneficial? And if it's one of those rare cases when saying something harsh would be beneficial, then the next one is, this is the right time and place for that. And only if you could say yes to all three questions should you say those things. This principle applies to harsh speech. It also applies to divisive speech, because there are times when you see one of your friends suddenly developing a friendship with someone who you know is abusive, you know is corrupt, you know is going to harm that person. And you've got to find the right way to protect that person. So again, you may end up saying something that may sound divisive, but it's with compassion and intent. And as for idle chatter, well, there are times when simple social grease conversation is necessary to keep a situation lubricated. But you've got to be very clear, and this is where it's no longer as